Hi, I'm Mike from PokéTips Official, and today I'm going to be teaching you how you can Eevee train your Pokemon in Pokemon Ultra Sun and Pokemon Ultra Moon. In this video, I'm going to be addressing 3 big points. What is Eevee training? What do you need to Eevee train? And what are the best locations in Pokemon Ultra Sun and Ultra Moon to Eevee train? So with that being said, let's go ahead and get started. So what is Eevee training? So Eevees actually have nothing to do with the Pokemon Eevee. Sorry, Eevee. EVs stand for effort values, which are a hidden value in the Pokemon games that make your Pokemon stronger. Your Pokemon get these hidden EVs every single time you defeat another Pokemon in battle. Every single Pokemon gives out these hidden EVs when they are defeated. Now, depending on which Pokemon it is, it'll give out EVs in different stats: HP, attack, defense, special attack, special defense, or speed, and some Pokemon even give out more than one type of EV every single time they're defeated. So, for example, a Yungoos gives you 1 attack EV, and a Caterpie will give you 1 HP EV. So that's nice and all, but what do these numbers mean? So every 4 EVs equals 1 additional stat point that your Pokemon will get by the time it reaches level 100. But there are limits on how many EVs a Pokemon can have. So a Pokemon can only have a maximum of 510 EVs in total, and then it can only have a maximum of 252 EVs in each stat. So basically, your average EV spread would look something like this: 252 points into one stat, 252 points into another stat, and then 6 into a last stat, just to round off at 510 and to maximize your Pokemon's potential. If you go ahead and EV train your Pokemon properly, you're going to notice a huge difference in power in your Pokemon. Now that we know what EVs are, let's move on to the next step: what we need to get started with EV training. I'm going to be teaching you guys the traditional method of EV training your Pokemon, going out into the wild and defeating wild Pokemon to get EVs. Pokemon Ultra Sun and Ultra Moon have a few different options of EV training your Pokemon. However, this is definitely the easiest one to learn and also extremely fast, especially if you want to EV train more than one Pokemon at a time. Remember how I said before that if you want to completely EV train a stat, it needs 252 EV points? Well, back in the old days of Pokemon, that used to mean that you had to defeat 252 of the same Pokemon over and over and over again, and that took quite some time. Luckily, we don't have to do that anymore. In the newer Pokemon games, there have been things to increase the amount of EVs that you get for knocking out a Pokemon, and I'm going to be telling you about all of them so we can make your EV training as quick and as efficient as possible. So first off, I would recommend that you go get the power items. The power items are awesome because depending on which power item your Pokemon is holding, it's going to gain an 8 additional EVs every time you defeat a Pokemon. So let's say, for example, you're EV training Speed and you're fighting against Spearow. So normally defeating that Spearow would just give you 1 Speed EV, but if you had the Pokemon that you want to EV train holding the Power Anklet, it would get 9 Speed EVs for just defeating that 1 Spearow, which would save you a lot of time. So there are 6 different power items and they all correspond to different stats. The Power Bracer is for attack EVs, the Power Belt is for defense EVs, the Power Lens is for special attack EVs, the Power Band is for special defense EVs, the Power Anklet is for speed EVs, and the Power Weight is for HP EVs. You can purchase all these items with battle points at the Battle Royale Dome. Next up, if you can, try and get your Pokemon the Pokemon virus Pokérus. Pokérus is very rare in the Pokemon universe, but if you're lucky enough to get a Pokemon with Pokérus, it will double all the EVs that your Pokemon earns. So going back to our example before, if we're EV training for Speed and we're fighting against that Spearow and our Pokemon is holding the Power Anklet, it's going to receive 9 Speed EVs for knocking out a Spearow. Now put Pokérus on that same Pokemon and you're now getting 18 Speed EVs for knocking out 1 Spearow. Pokérus sounds fantastic, right? Well, it is if you have it. The problem with Pokérus is that your chance of encountering a Pokemon with Pokérus is, and get ready for it, 1 in 21,845, which is much, much rarer than finding a shiny Pokemon, which are already rare enough. Encountering Pokerus on your own is going to be very, very hard. So the easiest way to get Pokerus is by trading with somebody that already has it. The good thing about Pokerus is that once you have it, it is so easy to spread. All you have to do is keep the Pokemon with Pokerus in your party, and then go into a few battles, and then after those, your whole party will have Pokerus. So this is where you guys come in. I've done Eevee training videos before, and I've asked you guys to help each other out in the comments section. If you have Pokerus, let other people know and trade them around Pokerus to make this much more common. And I love seeing the reactions in the comments section because you guys really go out of your way to help other people get Pokerus. So I'm going to ask you to do that once again. If you have Pokerus, go ahead and trade it to somebody in the comments section that doesn't. It really makes Eevee training much easier, much faster, and it will make their day. And the last thing we're going to do is make sure that we have everything set up so we could properly SOS chain. And if you're not familiar with SOS chaining, wild Pokemon in Pokemon Ultra Sun and Ultra Moon can call other Pokemon for help when they're at low health. This is very good in our Eevee training because it'll allow us to run into the same Pokemon over and over and over again very easily, as well as one more major benefit that I'll talk about in a little bit. To keep the chain going, all you have to do is knock out one of the two Pokemon and make sure the other Pokemon is still alive at low health, and it will just keep calling for help over and over and over again. So two things that you can do to increase the chances of a Pokemon calling for help are: one, buy the item, the Adrenaline Orb, which you can find at pretty much any Pokemart, and go ahead and use that in the battle, and that'll make the Pokemon more likely to call for help, as well as get a Pokemon with the ability Unnerve, Pressure, or Intimidate, and lead off with that Pokemon. A Pokemon with any of these three abilities will increase the chance of a wild Pokemon calling for help. SOS chaining also has one more amazing benefit for Eevee training. Any Pokemon that you knock out in an SOS battle will automatically give you double the amount of EVs. So as soon as the initial Pokemon calls for help, it's automatically an SOS battle, and all Pokemon from that point on, including the two already on the field, will give you double the amount of EVs. So, going back to our Spearow example earlier, imagine we're in an SOS battle with the Spearow. So, that Spearow gives 1 speed EV initially, and the Pokemon we want to EV train is holding the Power Anklet, so that will boost it up to 9 EVs per Spearow. In an SOS battle, now that gives 18 EVs per Spearow, and if we're lucky enough to have Pokerus, we can boost the amount of EVs that we get from 1 Spearow all the way up to 36, which will make this method of EV training extremely fast. And the last thing that we're going to need to make sure that we SOS chain properly is a Pokemon with the move False Swipe. False Swipe will allow us to lower the Pokemon's health to 1 without knocking it out. And if you need a Pokemon that learns False Swipe, you could catch Absol and Sneasel, both Pokemon that learn False Swipe by TM, at Mount Lanakila. They will both already be at a pretty high level, and Absol comes with the added bonus of having the Pressure ability. Now, just make sure that you have the Pokemon with False Swipe and the Pokemon that you want to EV train in your party, and we will be ready to get started. One last thing that I would like to mention: if you turn on the EXP share, every single Pokemon in your party will gain EVs at the same time, even if they were not in the battle. So using this, you could EV train all 6 Pokemon in your party at once if you wish to do that. Alright, so using SOS training, you only need to knock out 14 Pokemon, assuming that your Pokemon is holding the correct power item, to completely EV train 1 stat. And that will not take that long at all. If you are lucky enough to have Pokerus, you could cut that number in half and you'll only have to knock out 7 Pokemon to get all 252 of those EVs in whichever stat you're EV training. Alright, so now that we know what EV training is and how to efficiently SOS chain Pokemon, let's go over the best locations to EV train your Pokemon in Ultra Sun and Ultra Moon. Alright, so starting off with HP, if you start off from the Pokemon Center near your house and head north, you will encounter a grass patch that has a 35% chance of having a Caterpie inside of it. It seems low at first, but after you find a Caterpie, you won't have to worry about that anymore. Moving on to attack, we're staying on Route 1, except we're moving to a different spot. The grass patches over here have a 55% chance of letting you encounter Pikipek, Yungoos, or Grubbin during the daytime, and at nighttime instead of Yungoos you could find Spinarak. All these Pokemon give attack EVs, so whichever one you find first, you can use to EV train for attack. For defense EVs, we're going to be heading over to the Wela Volcano Park and finding Cubone. Cubone has a 20% encounter rate, and also has a very small chance of calling a Kangaskhan in SOS battles. So if it calls a Kangaskhan, you might potentially want to run from the battle because Kangaskhan give HP EVs instead of defense. For special attack, we're going to head over to the Brooklet Hill grass area and run around until we find a Psyduck. With a 30% encounter rate, Psyduck are going to be pretty common here and very easy to train on. For special defense, we're going to take to the seas at Melly Sea, where we have a 60% chance of running into either a Tentacool or Mantike. Both of these Pokemon give special defense EVs. And last but most certainly not least, for speed, we're going to be heading over to Route 2 in the grass patch by the Pokemon Center, where we could find a 60% chance of encountering Spearow or Cutiefly. Both of these Pokemon are very easy to knock out and will be a great source of speed EVs. And before I go, I'd like to address a few common questions. You can EV train your Pokemon at any level, 1 to 100, it doesn't matter, as long as it doesn't have all 510 of its EVs, it can be EV trained. You can reset the EVs on your Pokemon by using either berries or Festival Plaza, which I'll be covering in a separate video, and you could check and make sure that your Pokemon is done EV training by going to the summary screen and pressing Y. That will change the stats icon, and if you see a light blue color, that means that all 510 of your Pokemon's EVs are used up. And that, my friends, is how you EV train your Pokemon in Pokemon Ultra Sun and Ultra Moon. Congratulations, you are now an EV training expert. So if this video helped you, please give it a thumbs up and subscribe if you're new. I want to thank each and every one of you for watching this video. I really appreciate it, and I hope you have a fantastic day.